live. Good evening, everyone that is joining us from Facebook and YouTube. Excuse my darkness. I cannot show my camera today because we do not have electricity thanks to load shedding schedule that is really crazy. Welcome to this week's session. And we once again are honored to have Mama Grace amongst us to talk to us about trauma bonds and reparenting. Okay, there's another meeting I need to excuse myself from. All right, we can go ahead. Over to you, Chilala, Darius, and Mama Grace. You can take it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mami Grace, our family and marriage therapist, consultant therapist. We had you last week, and we were discussing something that we would want to continue, of course, in another version. Today's version is trauma bonds and reparenting. Without wasting much time, because we're already behind
Is it
time.
me or Darius? Okay.
Mami Grace, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sia, we are already talking, so maybe you can just give us some time.
Okay, no, I was struggling to hear you, so I'm not sure if it was my network or yours.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, so I think you can go ahead and give us what you have prepared for us. But before maybe that, we would just like to apologize to our viewers, to our followers, those who are following us through Google Meet, those who are following us through Facebook, and those who are following us through Instagram. Apologies for starting late. We had a few setbacks. Technology is not something that can easily be predicted. So that's why we are 18 minutes into the program. However, our consultant, marriage and family therapist, is here, and she will take us through. Please, Counselor Grace Kariuki, you are good to go.
All right. Thank you, Darius, for that. I'm going to go ahead and just start off, and so I'm going to share a screen, and you can tell me, Darius, if you can see it. Can you see the screen? Okay, so let's see.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Or maybe the other people can let me know if they can see it.
Via Google Meet?
No, I'm sharing it on StreamYard like I did last week.
Okay. All right.
So I'm just going to kind of go over it because I know our time is gone, and then I will open up for questions. So we are talking about the attachment theory as
maybe just before you go ahead,
yeah.
I would want to appeal to you to just take your time. Because we actually record our programs. So for those that will feel like they would not have enough time to be with us, they can still be able to access this program or in a recorded format. So just take your time, teach at your pace, at your own pace. I think we will appreciate it that way.
Okay, so I'm going to go over this information, and if people have questions, they can ask. The issue of trauma bonding comes really from the attachment theory, that how we attach in our adult relationship is dependent on how we experience our caregiver. So I have this PowerPoint, and I hope that people can see it. And it's going to give us some information on what the attachment theory is and then I will touch on trauma bonds and how to heal from that. So the attachment theory, it's really defining the emotional bond that forms between an infant and the caregiver. So children, they need and expect to be attended to. So they expect their caregivers to be attentive to their needs, to affirm their need for support and for soothing, and also to be comforting. So comforting and soothing, they go together. So if a baby is crying, what they are saying is that I am needing somebody to tell me it's okay, needing somebody to meet my needs, needing somebody to interpret what I need, because a baby doesn't have language. And so when they cry, that's what they are saying. Hey, I'm over here, I need something. And it is the job of the parent and the caregiver to attend to that in a timely manner and to be predictable and consistent with that. This attention, comfort, and affirmation of the child's needs communicates to the child that it is safe, which triggers feelings of calm and the child develops self-soothing tendencies. So a child who cries and then it takes a long time for anybody to come to their aid begins to develop a belief that when I call, nobody is here to help me. And so what happens, they stay in this unsafe space, and eventually you find that they have to cry harder for them to be heard. Now, think about it. Even as parents, as we raise our children, you speak the first time, the child doesn't pay attention. You speak the second time, the child doesn't pay attention. So the third time we yell, and then the child pays attention. So we develop, without knowing, we develop a pattern. And it's that if mom doesn't yell, I don't respond. So we want to be able to allow ourselves to understand this theory of attachment. The emotional bond with a caregiver impacts how the child develops emotionally and what they believe about love towards self and others. So it's very important, because at that point, you as the parent, you are actually modeling to your child or giving the child a feeling of how the world is going to be. Now, why is it important? Children a child that is secure, there is assurance that the parents are around. They feel peaceful, they are calm, they are able to play by themselves because they are not worried about abandonment and that they will have no one around. So they are not vigilant, looking around to see, is mom around? Is she leaving? When parents are leaving, a child that is secure will have low stress, and when they return, the child is easily able to reconnect. So the result of that is inner confidence, functional opinion of self as deserving of love, healthy connections with others, and an assumption that others are accepting and empathetic. So when we think about how we struggle with our adult relationships, we find that there are some of us, I will believe it when I see it. That means that when you were growing up, you didn't have consistency. So you didn't trust the adults around you. Broken promises. Dad said he would do this or that, then they don't. You are told if you finish your class 8 and you get an A, that we are going to do something, and then it doesn't happen. All those messages of the world is not a safe place for me, they impact how we are going now to be able to connect with others. Now, what is secure attachment? Secure attachment is the strong emotional immune system that when I go into some sort of loss, abandonment, or a feeling of being rejected, I don't go into emotional crisis. I am able to emotionally hold on to myself. I'm able to emotionally return back to a feeling of safety very quickly. So such people, they are comfortable in a relationship. They have the ability and confidence to ask for what they want and need in a relationship. They easily believe when the partner says they love them. They are not worried about being left. They are not worried about abandonment. Positive worldview of self and others. So they believe that they are a person of worth, and they also see other people are like that. So with their partners, they assume the best of their partner. And if there is a problem, they deal with it. When we talk about conflict, they don't blame, but they are comfortable to ask for what they want. They are comfortable to say what is causing them the distress, and they have their internal narrative is positive. So they don't personalize things. They don't generalize. When we personalize, we are saying this is happening because I'm not a good person, or this is happening because of me, because they don't like me. They don't, we don't do that. Neither do we go like, because I have been hurt before, even here, I have to be careful, I'm going to be hurt again. So we don't generalize what has happened in the past into the present. So this is the secure person. In other words, a secure individual, they are comfortable in their own skin. So they don't look for validation, affirmation from the outside. And there is a normal expectation of validation when you are in a relationship. However, it does not translate into an identity, because now that is where the pain comes from. Because then when I don't get this that I'm looking for, I go into personal crisis. So I question my confidence, I have low self-esteem, I have low levels of self-value, I don't think I deserve. We just go into this space of feeling completely alone. Now, so look at this one. Do you pull away from relationships when they start to become serious? Did you experience inconsistent love and care from your parents? Do you fear being vulnerable and open to another? Do you view relationships as being unsafe? Do you need time alone after from your intimate relationship? Now, this person is who we call the avoidant dismissive. And that person is usually allergic to love. They want it, but they don't necessarily trust it. So they have this personal trust that I don't need anybody. I can only trust myself. Everybody else in the world is out to get me, or they are not trustworthy. So they find themselves having a very high level of self-belief and very low or none, where they don't feel safe in relationships. And so that's why they avoid the emotional connecting. So they are great in the beginning. So they do a lot of love bombing. And so if you have heard about love bombing, is basically where somebody is giving you a lot of attention. There is a lot of giving of gifts or time spent together or words of affirmation very, very strongly. And so that's why we call it love bombing, because you get all this stuff that you are given to prove that this person for this person to show how much they care about you.
Sorry, Mama Grace, can you
Yes.
increase your volume a bit? On Google Meet, they're struggling to hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me see. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a little bit. Okay, so so
Much better.
Oh, okay, yeah. I realized it was okay. Thank you for that. I wouldn't have known that I'm low.
Yes.
Okay, so let me share again my my screen here. Okay, there we go. All right, so so the fearful, avoidant people who do not relationships, they don't believe relationships are safe. So they want them, but they don't trust these people they're in relationship with. So they lose interest as the relationship progresses. They are addicted to the beginning of a relationship. So they are going to show you a lot of attention, but then it's not consistent, it's not reliable, because at some point when they are tired or when they feel cramped, when they feel that they can't handle the emotional connection, when they begin to feel like, oh my goodness, you know too much about me, they withhold, they go away, and you are left feeling like you're hanging. And so they are self-reliant, they are high achievers, they are unemotional and uninterested. Positive view of self and a negative view of others. And usually this is rooted in childhood trauma, where there was hurt, there was betrayal, and so they never developed that feeling that you can trust people. So what they did, they learned how to fend for themselves, to be very strong, to have a strong emotional kind of protectiveness. So that's where people will say they look aloof. They don't. It doesn't feel like they
Mommy,
are.
they say you are a bit far from the phone again, or the microphone.
I'm actually I'm using my laptop, so I don't know why they can't hear me. Because
Okay.
my volume is at 100.
Okay. Let me see if the issue is not on my side, because I'm connecting to them via my phone. So, but I can
Okay,
hear you very well.
and they say they can't hear me.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Oh, I don't know. Everyone?
Okay. Are we all struggling to hear, Mommy? Yeah.
Oh, they all are struggling
Darlington,
to
can
hear
you
me.
hear us? Okay, I think let's continue. I'm not sure. Maybe they will communicate as we go.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So the what I was in the point where I'm saying that in relationships they push away, they want space, and might claim they might even claim that they are looking for the one. So they are constantly looking for that perfect one. In conflict, they are defensive, they deflate, and deflating is where you kind of turn you turn them. You want to stay away from the real issue, so you turn it into something else. They counter blame. Even you do that. They are sarcastic. Now, is that something to be worried about, or something like that? And gaslighting, where they turn it around and say, if you had not done this, then I would not have done this. So in essence, this is your fault. And so they have little need for others, and so their friendship are very shallow, and so they do not really like to trust. They are afraid of trusting, so they will come off as commitment phobic. So you will find that they have issues of cheating, where they look for, they will move from one person to another. If this one is not working, they are looking for someone else to, even if it's not it may not be a sexual cheating experience, it is going to be an emotional connection, because they are looking for feeling connected. Because even though they may be dismissive and avoidant of relationships, they still are human beings. They need connection. And then they may not be affectionate, and they can be quite secretive. So that's the one of the insecure attachment style, which is avoidant dismissive. You will see this mostly with men, and you will also see it a lot with individuals who have the choleric. They have the choleric, what is it called? The choleric temperament, where they are self-driven. They can get their needs met, not just with one person, but they can create their own ways of meeting those needs. So they may have very shallow, they may not have the ability to connect deeply with people. Then you have this person who feels incompetent because they are single. Are you constantly afraid of your partner cheating on you? Are you a jealous lover and will try to make your partner jealous so he or she can chase you? Do you constantly fear that your partner will stop loving you? So if you experience that, you are what we call the anxious preoccupied. So for them, we say that they have a weak emotional immune system. So love is medicine for them. So if there is no love, their ability to feel emotionally strong, emotionally stable is low. And so love and relationships is what is going to make them feel good. So in other words, the anxious preoccupied, unlike the dismissive avoidant, they don't trust themselves, but they trust everybody else. So they see other people, those are the people who are looking for validation from other people. So they can't stand being alone, which means parents were inconsistent in their show of love and acceptance and affirmation. They pull close and deep, they have a deep craving for love. So they want to be close, they want to constantly know that they are loved and cared for. So they don't believe they are loved. That's kind of their mindset, is that I am not loved, and so I need constant assurance that I am loved. Fearful that they will be left or abandoned or rejected. They have a low view of self and very high view of others. So that is why they need this reassurance for other people. They are unable to reassure themselves because they don't believe that they are enough. They don't believe that they are good. They don't believe that they have the ability to live their lives without deep connections with others. Again, rooted in parental abandonment, abuse, and the inconsistency of love. Now, the other thing that we want to look at here is their emotions are either very high or very low. So they struggle a lot with mood swings. Now, unlike the dismissive avoidant, the dismissive avoidant may not show any emotion except anger. But the anxious preoccupied, they will show all the emotions, and they are usually intensive. They are usually intense emotions, and then they are caregivers of others. They tend to have this savior mentality, and especially with individuals who are dismissive avoidant, they find a lot of value, or they create value in their seeking for others. So fixing others, helping people who are wounded emotionally, they kind of connect with that. It's almost like a very serious of what we might say of identification with other people's problems. And so they are people pleasers. They don't know how to put themselves first, or even to appreciate who they are. Their feelings of worth and their feelings of goodness are connected to how other people are with them. So that is another, the last insecure attachment style is fearful avoidant, or what they call the disorganized. And this is the person who desperately needs love but is allergic to it. So they don't trust themselves, neither do they trust others. So they have this fearful and negative view of themselves and of others. So unlike now the other two, they have both distrust for themselves and for others. So what this dismissive this fearful avoidant and disorganized individual will do is that they will come into a relationship with a lot of depth and a lot of intensity, but the moment it feels like it's going to hurt, they pull away, and they are pulling away. Now, these are the people who will block you everywhere because you had some sort of disagreement, because they are constantly thinking, if we have a disagreement, that means this relationship is ending. And so what you will find is that they will struggle with feeling safe. And so when they don't feel safe in a relationship, what will happen is that they will find themselves now running away from it, not because they don't want it, but just because they feel they are afraid. So what their parental experience was, they grew up in a home where it was very chaotic. So there was no consistency. Parents fought like they hated each other, like there was a constant feeling of that they are going to hurt each other. So they never saw love being. They never really saw love being something that you can trust. They didn't feel that you can trust love, and so that's why we say that they may want it, but they are allergic to it because they saw the intensity. The parents that raised them were not they were not balanced. So there was intensity. When things were not going very well, they were very intensive. When things were going well, they are very intensive. So there is no balance. And so even them, they do the fearful. So I come in, I want it, and then I become very afraid of it and I run away. So chaotic home, they associate love with chaos, so love with pain. Fearful every time there is calm, that they might start an argument because they need this. It's almost like they got used to the chaos, and so they don't know that you can have love without chaos. And so they want to be loved, they want to love, they want to give of themselves, they want to be vulnerable, but they cannot trust the environment, they cannot trust themselves, neither can they trust others. So a very perception, reading people's emotional cues. So if you're one of those people who are very in tune with other people's energies and you find yourself making conclusions and assumptions about why people are the way they are, you probably are in this category where you don't feel safe. And so what you do, when you feel energies, you feel you see what's going on, you find yourself picking those emotions and making them to be facts, as if that thing you are feeling is a real fact, even when you don't have the facts. So people will say, I overthink. People will say, I tend to read too much into something. People will say all these kinds of things that, and then they will say, and I feel like I am not safe with this person. But then when we talk, I am feeling confused, because they create these messages in their brain that they are going to be left. But then when the person doesn't leave them and it's okay, they find themselves confused about, and that's why it's called disorganized. Because even their partners cannot really predict them, because you don't know when they are going to overreact. Yeah. So what do you do? This is now part of the reparenting. That's what I want to share with us. So the anxious preoccupied, you need to heal your childhood need that you are not loved or lovable. So the fear of abandonment and rejection, that is what you want to identify. So I am anxious and preoccupied. I am jealous. I am obsessed with my partner. I constantly are looking to find out why they are trying to pull away from me. I'm constantly feeling that I'm going to be left. So you want to find out, do I have a childhood wound of abandonment, of rejection, of not believing that I am loved and acceptable? Am I reacting to that? Is that what is being triggered in my relationship? So nurture yourself. Learn how to give yourself what you didn't get as a kid. Develop more emotional independence. Develop now what we call the emotional muscle. Believe you are enough outside of being with others. Take time to check your mindset, and then change that mindset. So if you believe that you are not worthy of love, that you are not enough, that you have to be told all the time, check that mindset and ask yourself, what is it that makes me feel I'm not good enough? I remember myself going through my own process, and I remember challenging myself and saying, Grace, you can also leave. Because you are in a toxic relationship because you're constantly thinking that you're going to be left. But maybe there is a reason why you are feeling that way. But you cannot gather the courage to walk away because you are fearing the rejection, you are fearing the abandonment, you are fearing the breakup. And so you stay until the time the other person actually leaves. And so you constantly are feeling the rejection. So I started asking myself, why can't I be the one who walks away? And I started really desiring that I would like to be able to walk away from a relationship where I don't feel nurtured. I don't feel that I need to walk away. So the whole belief, question your beliefs that you harbor about yourself and others. Try to understand where you are coming from. Know yourself. Work on your codependency and savior mentality, where you are thinking, that I cannot survive without love. I cannot survive without this. If I lose this person, I'm completely lost. Or I have wasted so many years. I usually tell people there is nothing like that. You lived. Yes, you didn't get what you wanted at the end of it, but you lived your life. And let's look at how you lived. Let's look at how you survived so that you see that your life, you are not necessarily a victim of circumstance, that even during this time when you are in this thing that has ended with the end of that relationship, it doesn't mean that you are a victim. It means that you lived. There are things you learned from that relationship, but because your thinking was, this is the end, because this relationship gives me value and it gives me a feeling of goodness, then when it is lost, your feeling of value and your feeling of goodness goes with it. So learn to self-soothe. So when you feel these intense high emotions, learn to sit with it. Let your body come back to a state of balance, and then ask yourself, what was that about? Why is this thing hurting me so much? Allow yourself to feel and to know the reason why the emotions are there. And then look at the way you cope and learn how not to escape the feelings. Allow them to guide you into what you need, how you need to make choices. So if you do not know how to do it, then seek for a therapist to coach you on how to develop self-regulation. There is also another one that I have talked about in my classes, and I call it distress tolerance. Understand that when you are anxious and preoccupied, your distress levels are usually very high. You don't know how to manage them. And so what you do, you yell, you scream, you do all whatever it is that we will do depending on your personality and your situation. And so at the end of it, you are exhausted. You don't even have time to see what is the lessons I have learned here, because your brain has constantly learned that when I am in this emotional space, I just give into it and I just run with it. So that is part of how you can start that process of reparenting yourself. Now, when you are an avoidant, dismissive individual, you need to heal the betrayal and the broken trust with both or one of your parents because of this fear of abandonment. You see, so they betrayed you. Your parents betrayed you somehow. Your caregiver betrayed you. Now, it may not be a big thing. It could be very simple that you were in school, you had a bullying situation, and you came home, told dad, and dad thought you were a sissy. And so instead of dad being able to understand where you are coming from, the betrayal came from when he belittled, dismissed, or did not take seriously what you went through, that somebody made you feel very unsafe, and then you ran to your parents because they are your safe space, and they dismissed. And in fact, they told you, I do not want to hear again. You coming here to tell me another child hit you. You have hands. You see, so without even taking into consideration your emotional makeup, and maybe you are not a fighter, the parents did not give you the tools to deal with that. So what eventually the message you get is that you don't need to be vulnerable because you will be made fun of. Being vulnerable is not safe. It will make you be punished, and people will see you as a person who is weak. So begin to be more vulnerable. Begin to develop trust within yourself, because now you are grown. You're no longer a child in a school compound where in the playground they are making fun of you, and then you feel vulnerable and nobody is going to protect you. No, you are no longer there. You are an adult, and now you need to develop trust and know that you can protect yourself, but you don't need to shut down in order for you to stay safe. You can venture out into relationships. You can seek people you can trust. You can seek to know, how can I know a person I can trust? Allow yourself the opportunity to be vulnerable, and then create now boundaries with people so that people don't take advantage of you. But do not shut down, because then your relationships are not going to be healthy. What happened were events in time. This is what you need to tell yourself. You are safe now, heal past wounds through therapy, allow your inner child to feel safe. So you allow yourself to go through the feelings that you shut down so that now you can be able to change your mindset and you can change the narrative you have about love and trust, that people are not trustworthy. I can only trust myself. Take small steps to trust others. And when they let you down, don't personalize it. Don't generalize. Don't say it's because of me. I cannot trust people. No, sometimes people are making, maybe people are making mistakes, but other times people may be just like you, that they are also very tentative. They are not very sure. They may lie to you. They may, and a lot of people I know that will not tell the truth because they are afraid of being left, and so they lie. So you want to understand human behavior so that when you see these things, before you dismiss and avoid and cut off, that you seek to understand. So by the way, tell me, why is it that you didn't tell me that you had a child before we started to be serious? Why did you keep that? I really am interested to know, where was your mind? Because that's what we do as therapists. That's why people open up to us, because we are saying, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not judging you. I just want to understand. Tell me more. What happened? You see? So instead of going into that space of accusing and attacking, then you go into a space of I need to understand. So before I walk away, let me see whether I can use the skill to try to understand another person and see whether I can draw the truth out, so that when I make the decision to walk away, to abandon this relationship, or to decide I do not trust anybody anymore, I have evidence and I can have what we call compassion and empathy for the person, so that I don't keep running away from relationships. Now, the fearful avoidance, the fear of punishment, fear of shame, and fear of abandonment is what you want to deal with. The person that we said is disorganized. So understand that your fear is rooted in, I'm afraid to be punished, I'm afraid to be shamed, and I'm afraid to be abandoned. So that's what you want to deal with from when you are doing your childhood trauma healing. So you want to develop self-compassion, reduce the critical parent voice in your brain. These negative renditions that we have. So we are saying how stupid I am, I will never do this. So these self-sabotaging expressions that we use, you want to reduce that. That is your critical parent voice. And you don't want to also go into your child voice, the shamed, abandoned child voice. Oh, nobody wants me. I am useless. Nobody will ever love me. You don't want to go there either. So you want to be self-compassionate. And how do you practice self-compassion? You actually deal with the issue right here and then. So it was me and my boyfriend, for instance, and we didn't agree. And he said this and he said that. So I don't generalize. I don't say all people, nobody ever understands me, nobody listens. Don't do that. Identify what is right here. And you say, I'm feeling this way because so and so did not agree with me, and I tried to express myself. They didn't give me a chance. And then set boundaries. Stop running away from people and then coming back to them. So stop this thing of, if I am I'm unhappy with you, I block you everywhere. Don't do that. And then a day later, I unblock you. Don't do that. But instead of that, set boundaries. And what are boundaries? Boundaries are doors. They are not walls. They are doors that you open and you close. So set boundaries and say to the person, I don't like the way you yell at me. I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like, and so from now on, if you start that, know that I will always cut the phone off. And I'm not going to give you the opportunity to continue to do that. And this is how we walk out and we leave trauma bonds. Because now trauma bonding means that I am going with this person, and I am focusing more on what the emotional connection and value I have given the relationship, regardless of how they treat me. So I'm afraid to let go of this relationship, because then if I let go, I'll be in trauma and I won't be able to survive it. You see? So we want to learn that you can set boundaries, you can speak up, so that when a person is treating you wrongly, they know they cannot do that, and you will influence change. But when I agree for the sake of peace, that's how we develop and maintain trauma bonds. Now, find yourself as self-worth, develop self-trust, and learn to trust others. But you cannot trust others until you trust yourself. Because when you don't trust yourself, you're constantly feeling that feeling of self-doubt. You're not very clear about who you are. And so you are looking to get this self-worth from outside, this validation from outside. And when you don't get it, you go into distress, and then you have emotional reactions. The distress, you are not able to tolerate the distress, and immediately you go into that fear of abandonment and fear of rejection, and then the shame and the guilt comes in. So you don't want to go there. You want to heal that. You want to identify and remember that happened them days. Now I am no longer there. Things have changed. How have I made it? Instead of why me, ask the question, how have I made it? So that now you can move from that space of a child state and you enter into an adult state, because that's where your life is. You are now an adult. So when you realize that, oh my goodness, I will never be able to get what I need from my mother. Now, there are people who have been very lucky. In fact, this morning I had a client who told me that their dad actually apologized for the way that he treated them when they were young. And now he's their biggest champion. He offers a lot of emotional support and encouragement, because he came to realize that the way he was when he was raising them wasn't really the best way that he could have done it. So that person is very lucky, because now they can actually rebuild that relationship. The problem with our parents who are not willing to actually see the damage that they caused us is that they are still in their traumas. And when we come, they become very defensive. They become very offended, and they cannot be able to empathize or even understand where we are coming from. And so daily affirmations about your worth and goodness, so that you can reduce self-blame. A lot of us, when we are children, and I was talking with a parent today, and I share this story or this insight a lot, that when I became a parent, I found myself, as my child became much more, from the ages of 6 and going forward, now they have a mind of their own. They are asserting themselves, and so when they repeat certain behaviors, we as parents, if we are not very careful, we ask our children, what's wrong with you? Why can you not? When we do that, we are telling our children that something is inherently wrong with them. However, we can say something like, when you don't sit and do your homework like we have agreed, I feel very upset. And I find myself wondering, what is it that I need to help you with so that we can reach the goal? Now, there I actually identified a behavior that needs to change. And I have also told my child that this is how I feel, and I have not blamed them for it. But also I have told them, I think there is something we can do about it. So changing those kinds of exchanges with our children can also help us to heal our childhood trauma. And so what happened to me is that I realized I am doing to my child the same way that was done to me. And you see, I wasn't aware of it until I became aware. And I know that my own parents were not aware that the message I was getting from it, because as children, we don't even know how to say it. We just say, I feel bad. When mom, you do that, I feel bad. We don't have the vocabulary to say it. As an adult, when you come into my counseling, I usually help you to regain a voice and I say, what do you think you needed from your parents? So we speak and we allow your inner child to say, I needed this, and then I have to go to that space where I'm telling you it was not your fault because you are a child. And so now as an adult right now, in reparenting yourself, you've got to tell yourself that it was not your fault. It was not my fault. It's the adults that didn't know how to do it or didn't do the right thing, so that you can separate yourself from the dysfunction. You don't see yourself as the dysfunction. You are able to separate the two so you can deal with it. When we enter into relationships and we don't allow ourselves to look at those relationships and actually work out the relationships, what happens is that we begin to believe the emotions and we begin to use them as if they were facts. Now, when I want to show you what I usually do with my clients when we do reparenting. The first step that we do is this. So we look at the whole experience you had with your parents. So question number one, what do you celebrate about them? So I always say, celebrate your parents. What did they do well? What did you learn from each of them in a positive? How did they positively impact your life? And it can be something as simple as they paid my school fees. I was never sent home because of lack of school fees, or whatever it is. We had a good home. We never had problems, or whatever it is that they did well. You need to identify. And then I ask the question, because again, we are the product of our parents. We have their DNA in us. So I say, who are you more like? What are you thankful for when it comes to the way they brought you up? So you begin to kind of allow yourself to see your parents as humans, not superhumans. So for me, what happened is that when I did this, I actually realized that, because I used to feel like my father didn't like me at all. So I started to realize, you know what? I am so much like my father because I have a big hand. I am very tall. My mother is short, so I'm very tall. And then I realized even my feet, I have feet like a man, which was a self-esteem issue like for me. And then I realized, I have looking at my father's feet, I was like, wow, I have actually feet like him. So I started to accept that this is my dad. So I don't go into this. I don't stay into this thing. I wish I had a different parent. And of course, now I came to realize if my mother had married somebody else, I wouldn't exist, because I'm a combination of them too. So allow yourself to do that. Also, look at the experiences you had in your childhood that triggered feelings of disappointment, hurt, betrayal, emotional neglect, fear, sadness, loss. What were those? Write them out. What do you wish your parent had done different? Give specific situations. Then number 3, you want to look at how did you respond to all of this? What do you regret? Identify any feelings you may have harbored that you had disappointed them or not lived up to their expectation. What do you wish you had done different? Some people, they will say, I wish I had not acted out. I wish I had worked harder in school. I wish, whatever it is that you feel you did that created, again, a lot of unsafe situations in your life. Now, and then how do you think your childhood experience contributed to some of your negative coping mechanisms you have used over time? And so this is where now you are looking at your attachment, because then they are coping. Relationships can be coping. It can be a coping mechanism. So try to understand what are the coping mechanisms that I developed over time. So it could range from relationships to substance abuse, to religiosity, to working hard, to being an alcoholic, to all kinds of things that you can be able to identify. Other people, they struggle a lot with mood disorders, like now depression. They struggle with anxiety. They struggle with the feelings of contentment. So you want to see how did my childhood experience contribute to that? And then one last thing you want to acknowledge is do you need to heal some of these wounds. And one of the ways you heal the wound of the past is forgiving people, forgiving your offenders. What do you need to forgive them for? So you identify that. And also, as we are doing that kind of work, we also encourage the individual to do some self-forgiveness, because sometimes the things that you are struggling with are things that during the time when there was a lot of chaos in your life, there are some choices you made that you have had to live with that change the trajectory of your life. And so you also want to do a process of seeking self-forgiveness so that you can give yourself self-compassion and you can have self-belief, you can have confidence that you can make it because you have made it anyway. It's just that your emotional life, you tend to question yourself. Your mentor tends to think that you are a fraud, that even the things you accomplished is just by luck. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to affirm because you did the work. Yes, you prayed. Yes, you had a few people who supported you, but you actually did the work. And so that is what we normally are going to be encouraging you to do. So that is the end of my presentation. For those who I am live on my Instagram page, you didn't see my PowerPoint, but I am doing a talk to a group that is on Google Meet, and so I was sharing the PowerPoint, but I think you have gotten some of the points that I have shared. So I'm going to stop there and allow for some questions.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much. Darius, were you saying something?
No. I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying something. Thank you, Mama, for that. It's very critical. In the life of in the work of life coaching that I do, you meet a lot of people that you can see that what we are dealing with is more than anything else is the broken child inside.
Yes.
And we need that reparenting, and you have given us very practical tools on how to do that, and I want to thank you so much. I just want to reflect a bit on a post I shared yesterday. Yesterday was 1 year anniversary since my father passed away. Those who have come in contact with my book know the kind of relationship I had with my father growing up. And it's amazing that by the time he died, we were okay. We were very much peaceful with each other. We were at a point where I was helping him, trying to get him better when he was ill and stuff. So in the post that I wrote yesterday, I was reflecting on the experience of grieving for him. I before he died, I got into anticipatory grief, which was very painful. And I didn't want him to die. After he died, my grief was more on what I lost as a child, what I missed out on as a child, what could have been had he made better choices. And for 2 weeks that I spent at his house, I was reconciling the adult me who was now grieving her late father with the child in me who had daddy issues on her life. And it was such an intense experience, to go through, to finally close the book, to say, I forgave him whilst he was alive. And I am glad that I did that. And now that he was gone, I truly had to reconcile myself, the adult version of me, to the broken little girl that grew up wondering why this man was acting this way. So I'm just going back to your point of having to see our parents as just humans. And I'm glad that I got to experience that whilst he was still alive. Like I got to a point where I just saw him as a person that's full of mistakes, as just human, just like anybody else, and not a person who was maybe intentionally hurting me or a person who really hated me, but just as a human who had mistakes like all of us. And I want to encourage everyone to take the time, you know, to reconcile, you know, more than anything else, the forgiveness part of it, more than doing it for your offender or anyone else, you do it for yourself. And once you've done it, it's such a beautiful, beautiful experience when you look back to say, I saw this person, my relative, my offender, my whoever, as human, and it made things much more, it put things in a very totally different perspective when you see them as just humans. So yeah, thank you so much. This was very relevant, and I hope that everyone that has attended got the homework for themselves on what they still need to do. And those who need assistance, you know, in terms of professional help, please do reach out, you know, for help. I don't see any hands on Google Meet. Do you have any questions? Darius, do you have anything to add?
No. Today, I think I want to just learn. Yeah.
You just want to be a student. Okay. I don't see any hands. There are no questions on the chat as well. I don't see any questions from Facebook as well. We all we see is appreciation. Thank you so much, Mama, from all of us. We appreciate you. And please, when we call you again, please do honor us once again. Let's all have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good night, and God bless you.
Amen.